Good morning, guys. I am Patty Elhoff, the author of Upcycle with Decoupage. That's also the name of my website and my Facebook page. I'm going to show you how to make this Victorian Christmas birdhouse today, but I wanted to remind you that the napkins are always available on my website. They're all different napkins, but the specific napkins I use are sometimes sold out pretty quickly. So you can go through my website, which goes through Amazon, to order any of your supplies. And here's what we'll be working on for today. The first thing you'll want to do is paint one of these wooden birdhouses. I'll have these posted on my website if they're available because it's Christmas time. Sometimes it's a little challenging to get these supplies, but I'm using a chalk paint and a roller brush because it puts on a nice smooth surface. And I'm just going to cover the whole birdhouse and put this aside to dry. Now while that's drying, I'm going to cut out some of my designs here. They're little angels that I got from a site called Southern Blackberry that you can look up on the web. I'm also going to separate my napkins. I'm probably going to use about 3 or 4 of these. Now I'm going to take some diluted acrylic paint, this is burnt umber, and a sponge pouncer brush, just diluting it a little bit, and I'm going to add this. I want to blot it, it was a little too dark. I'm going to add it just around the edges. Sorry, that's a little bit off camera. I'm going to add it just around the edges because I'm going to age this a little bit. I went a little too heavy there, so I'm going to remove some of that. And when this dries, I'm going to cover the whole surface with decoupage glue and let this dry. So right now I'm just going to cover everything on the outside with decoupage glue and put it aside to dry. I also added just a layer of decoupage glue to the back of the angels that I cut out. So for today we're going to need some parchment paper, and this is the dried birdhouse. Now the decoupage glue has dried on this, so you want to lay your napkin down. If you've got any parts that stick out like that, you just want to cut a hole in there. And you put the napkin down, then the parchment paper, and you want to take your craft iron. Now I've heard that some people use spoons. I'm not sure how to do that, but I guess you heat the spoon and you follow these same steps. So if you don't have a craft iron, by the way, it's available on my website. You can try using it with a spoon. It's probably a little bit labor intensive where this iron just stays hot all the time. Or if you have a travel iron or even a large iron and your surface is completely flat, you can also just use a regular size iron. But you do want to make sure that you get into all of these small spaces. It's very important that the napkin is completely glued down. You're in essence melting the decoupage glue underneath. Doesn't get tacky or sticky, but it leaves a nice, flat, beautiful finish. So make sure you get into all of these little places and crevices. Now you want to take a nail file and just go along all of the edges to remove any of the excess. And while you're doing this, you can just check to see if it looks like any of the surfaces have not been ironed down or if they're not sticking down. And I'm going to do this all around the birdhouse, the whole outside. And I'm taking this utility knife. I think it's got a different name. It's not quite a utility knife. And I've noticed that as I've cut some of these areas out, that the napkin was not sticking. And I also pulled away a little bit of it. So I'm just going to add a little decoupage over here. But for now, I'm trying to secure these edges down. Now I'm going to add those angels to different places around my birdhouse, using the same steps, ironing them on. Now that I'm done, I'm going to cover the whole surface with a coat of decoupage glue, and I'm going to let it dry. That little tear over the door is going to be covered up, so I'm not going to do any more work on that. Now I'm taking a flexible toothbrush and I'm mixing that paint and water a little bit more, and it's the same paint we used earlier to age the sides. It's hard to see here, but this will come up when we're all done. It's just a light splatter here of this paint and water. Once everything's dry, I added a matte varnish top coat, which I always recommend. Once the varnish or the top coat has dried, I'm taking some glitter glue and I'm going to add mica over the top of this. You can actually see the paint splattering a little bit more there. And the mica is actually a mineral. It is different from glitter. And for some reason, even though it's got a glassy, shiny look, it's got a much more aged look. So I prefer to use it on ornaments or projects where I still want that little bit of glitter or sparkle, but I want it to look a bit older, so the mica tends to give it that vintage look. Also available on my website if I can find it. And I'm using some E6000 glue to cover up that little tear up above the door. I was going to put these embellishments here anyway, but you want to be careful with this E6000. It will stick forever, but it is not good for your manicure. I'm sure it's not good for your skin. It's very drying. So you just want to be a little careful with that. I'm also going to add a jewelry element up above the perch there using this same glue. Also using the same glue, I'm taking this handmade ribbon. I took a quilter's square, it was about $1, and I tore it because it's 100% cotton and I knew it would be nice and wrinkly and tattered. And I'm just gluing it down onto our piece. And here's the final project, the final image of the project. And once again, guys, I am on Facebook at Upcycle with Decoupage if you want to head on over and like the page. If you follow me on there, you'll be able to see my videos first because I post them there on Wednesdays or Thursdays. And here's some still shots. I wanted you to see how that mica looks on the top. And once again, thank you so much for subscribing. Have a wonderful holiday no matter what you celebrate. I will be back next week with another video. And see you then, guys. Bye-bye.